for having kindly consented to be a part of our the Quest for Excellence series, right? And it's an honor to have you on our series because you are, as we all know, in the industry, you have spent considerable time. Like you're one of the renowned and very respected transformational specialists in the industry when it comes to functions like L&D, learning and development, training of Salesforce excellence, and also bringing in a lot of organizational, cultural, specific initiatives. You're a certified coach. You have also done a lot of initiatives around the building of the Alchem Academy for Learning, which I think is one of the initiatives that I would love to hear from you today. But it would only have been appropriate to have a stalwart like you with a rich experience of both sales, training and development, and L&D and OD. I mean, you've got a multifaceted experience, and it goes without saying that a distinguished person like you, who's done the kind of work, should definitely be a part of our series. So, it's a great privilege to, Sushil, have you on our show. Welcome, a hearty welcome to you. I've known you in the past as well. And as I had outlined in my opening mail to you as well, invitation mail, our series of the Quest for Excellence has got a very, very honest and transparent objective. That is to not only raise the standards of excellence, but also help in the process, marketeers and people involved in the brand management, business management function of our industry, learn what it takes to be the best across various domains. I mean, it can be marketing excellence, brand building excellence, leadership excellence. It could be through commercial excellence and strategy excellence. So we've just essentially chosen to focus on 5 main domains. And in the entire series so far, we have had leaders come in and share their perspectives in a very honest manner, candid manner about what's been their life journey, their learnings, their pitfalls at the same time, and how youngsters can benefit from those learning. But we have not had an L&D specialist. And I think that's a very important, and I was very keen that to look at the marketing capability building through the lens of an L&D guy. And I didn't want anyone else other than you, because you have been there and done that, because you've risen from the sales, you've done sales training, you're now doing the entire corporate. So you're a very apt person. So I would love to spend the next hour with you on this, Sushil, and get to know your life journey. And that's how I intend to keep the conversation.
Hi, good morning, Salesh, and thank you very much for the kind words, correct, which you have spoken about me. And you see that with the Quest for Excellence, you are doing a path-breaking work for bringing the people, correct, experienced people, and sharing the experiences with the upcoming leaders. And this also opens up a new vista, correct, where you see that when so many things are changing around, the conversations will definitely bring out a path which will benefit the industry. So thank you very much for having me in Quest for Excellence.
No, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. And, I just thought I'll just, sorry for this. Yeah. So I want to respect your time, and I want to jumpstart into our conversation straight away. Winding the clock back a good 18 to 20 years ago when you started your career, and you had a great sales stint with, I think, 2 of the very respected and reputed organizations, with Zydus and with DRL. I know you were a rep in Zydus, and in DRL you were a part of the scientific team, SST team, and then you got into the training function through Torrent. So my first question is, Sushil, is when you look back, I know it is easy to look back and then say, but that's how it has to be done retrospectively. Is what were your learnings of sales, that as a rep and as a scientific executive in both the organizations, that when you carried into the training function for the first time, that helped you understand and build out the training requirements and capabilities better? I just thought of asking you that first question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Salesh, for asking this question. In fact, you see that pharmaceutical sales, correct, it is quite different from the sales functions of the other industries. And that is why you see that to become successful in pharmaceutical industry, this is my advice to each and everyone. And in fact, that happens in our industry also, that people should have minimum 4 to 5 years of sales instinct in their career, whether it happens in the start of the career or in the middle of the career. Both things are important, because when I look back that 21 years back, when I started as a medical representative, there was no, you can say, curriculum, correct, which makes you a great pharma salesperson, because it is more like that doing then having the experiences, whether it is good or bad, and then learning from those experiences and starting making your own success principles in sales. All right, it is not like that that you go to some IIM Ahmedabad or you do some MBA course where they will teach you specifically about the pharma sales. So during that time, when I started my career as a medical representative, see, I came from a good academic background of M pharmacy, right? So people were asking that time this question that in 98, 99 I'm talking about, and you're very well aware, Salesh. Whenever I was going for the interview, also people were asking me, "Is such a such a qualification you are having? You spend around 6 years, correct? 4 years in B Pharma and 2 years in M Pharmacy, and then why you are choosing for the sales career?" And in certain places, correct, I got this sarcastic comment as well, that if you had to become a medical representative, then why not 12 plus 3 years? You have already, you can say, wasted your 3 years in doing your B Pharma and M Pharmacy. Then my answer to them was, see, education does not guarantee you the employment, but it opens up your entire mindset. It impacts your thinking. So my scientific education in pharmacy and the analytical thinking which I have gotten, I will be able to learn what others people are learning in 2 years of time. I may learn faster. And I think this answer of mine has landed me my first job as a medical representative. And when I started working as a medical representative, I started identifying that it is not only the knowledge which is important to send across the communication to the customer, what our brand managers want us to share with our customer. It is more of the behavioral aspect of a medical representative, which helps him in developing a lasting relationship. And that is why we say that product knowledge, right, selling knowledge, both are important, but at the same time, sales etiquettes are also important, which is very seldomly taught by in any training program. So I was when I was medical rep, isn't it? I was finding this kind of a gap of a behavioral science coming into the sales training, pharma sales training. And that's the similar kind of experience I had when I was in Dr. Reddy's. There I realized that until unless we get attached with our customer at a human to human level, right, the impactful communication doesn't happen. We may be able to tell everything what has been taught to us during our training program, but if that human to human level connect and the relationship is not there, it may not yield into converting into the business. And that is exactly what, when I entered into the training and being there for 4 years, correct, I attended many training programs, because Zydus, if you look at Zydus, you look at DRL, both the organizations are highly training focused organizations. So it was not a one-time training I have got there. I have got multiple trainings there, but in every training program, I was finding out, yes, there has to be more, you can say, ground reality, which has to be inculcated in the training program. And that is the human angle and the personality development angle, right, which I thought there was certain gap over there. And that is what correct has helped me when I took over my first mental in training with Nicholas Piramal as an business training manager, taking care of the entire Eastern Zone.
Distance.
So there we have designed one program, correct, which we called as an uh, that impact program. And there we said that we will keep around, and this was for a senior medical representative program, that we said that we will keep around 20 to 25% of the entire agenda around product, but 80 to 75 to 80% would be all around understanding customers' behavior, and then converting, or you can say adapting yourself to the customer behavior for a better rapport in the relationship. And that started giving us a lot of success.
I think you mentioned some points, very pertinent points in the opening piece of our conversation, and that is you were very quick to realize in your sales function from the other side of the table that there was not enough attention being given to the aspect of sales etiquette or behavioral aspects or dynamics of the whole process, which I think got missed out. And that is something you learned. And that what you amplified later as a second message, the human to human interaction or H to H interaction, which actually drives the very basic process of selling, pharmaceutical selling. And this is something which is of extreme interest, I think, from an L&D perspective, because that is what influences behaviors, influences, shift in, having a greater positivity towards an organization or a brand from from the stakeholder side, which is important. And I completely understand your point of view. The other aspect is, which is interesting, is when you started, and I remember in the late 90s, the whole environment was different, right? I mean, training was considered as a need to have or a checkbox, a hygiene factor, not as a must-have capability building, right? So I want to hear a couple of thoughts around that hygiene versus must-have capability, because in those days we don't blame anyone. I mean, that was the mindset. But even bigger mindset, Sushil ji, is the odds were stacked against you in a way, because after 4 years of a good sales rep and a BE performance, you decide to get into training, which generally people would raise their eyebrow and say, "Isko kya ho gaya? Training में क्यों जा रहा है? ये area manager का interview के लिए क्यों नहीं जा रहा है? या why is he not?" So that is something again you wanted to go away from the pack. So what prompted you to do that? And you were flowing a bit against the tide. That is something I was very keen to know, because it takes a lot of do these things, right? Now, if you reflect back, I don't know if but it just struck my mind, Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Shailesh. In fact, you have said it. When people are successful in sales, correct, they want to grow vertically. And exactly when I went to my bosses and I told them that I want to enter into training, and that time my age was around 27, 28 years. Exactly the kind of response, I'll quote the sentence here. They said, see, generally in training, people come when they are planning their retirement. Correct. So तुम जवानी में ही क्यों रिटायर होना चाहते हो?
मैं नहीं कहना चाह रहा था, लेकिन आपने कह दिया.
Exactly. But the thought behind that is what, that as I said, that education actually opens our analytical mind, and it also makes us strategic in thinking. And Salish, you will agree with me. By that time in 2000, by 2003, 2004, pharma industry has seen by that time all kind of, you can say, business models. Like it was the information or the product model, then came the CRM model, and that time the new buzzword was coming into the market, that was the return on investment, ROI. Right. So whenever anything which was happening, correct, the business unit heads were seeing each and every rupee which is invested, what kind of the return it is bringing in. And we were the part of all the sales reviews and everything. Great strategies, correct, I have seen in front of my eyes failing because the execution at the ground level as a medical representatives, we were not able to deliver. And that is the time, correct, I thought that sooner or later, a lot of attention and focus is going to come in our industry on the people and the capability building. And that changes has started being observed in the top Indian companies, apart from the multinational companies, that they started that time focusing upon a lot on training, because you can easily understand during that time, Nicholas Piramal was having a fleet of around 30 field trainers, right, which was unheard of, correct, in the Indian companies that time. And when I thought about that, what is their plan, why they are bringing the field trainers, will there be any kind of role conflict between an area manager or the regional manager with the field trainer, right? So these were the questions in my mind. So when I was called for the interview there, I asked all these questions to them, and they said the objective of either the line hierarchy or the training or the support services is to make the medical representative capable, because as long as he is strong, each and every strategy can be executed well. And that is why they said that this is where, right, the role of the field trainers they are looking into. And then I said that something great or the transformational is going to happen in the Indian pharma industry, correct, with the launch of the zonal, regional, or you can say area training structure. And then I thought, why should not I ride the wave of this change? And that has actually prompted me, because that was something new which was happening. So I thought that why should not I be the part of that? And yeah.
Right, interesting. And so that was, you're right when you said that the transformation of the pharma business model was happening. There was a lot of evolution happening from a product centric model to a customer relationship model, etc. Right, and and one of the points that you mentioned, to ride that wave, the pharma industry wanted to adapt itself by building out these training, regional trainers and area sales trainers to help drive that. My question there, Sushilji, is what was the intent? I mean, when you look back again, was it to, and that question you probably asked yourself is, was it to drive better impact of the execution excellence of the strategy? Or was it just as a double supervision on whether the sales guys are real or the managers are doing their job, and then act as a conduit between marketing in the head office and this? So what was the role carved out with clear job descriptions? Is something, because you now head L&D, and so it's very important to have great job descriptions, right? Yeah.
And thank you very much for asking this very, very powerful reflective question. When you said that how that role was carved out and whether that role has delivered, correct,
Yeah.
for the purpose it called out. When I reflect back, correct, and now when I had a team of around 19 trainers over here, right, I realized that 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 intention was very right of bringing that particular role, but the role clarity was a little bit missing, and that is where you see that most of the regional trainer, correct, they end up doing the field work rather than identifying the real purpose of that job is to identify that what is on the spot, the few capabilities that has to be developed, which people are facing as a challenge there because of the competition and other thing. Then after the work, come back, reflect upon that, create a module which can be delivered fast, and the capability change should start being seen upon as a adding on a new skill to people.
Right.
So and definitely I have observed that, and when I was the part of designing the entire strategy for our zonal training structure, I kept that thing in my mind, and I also realized that there has to be a good connect of alignment of mind from the top level, that what will be the clear cut role of a trainer in the field and what will be the role of a sales manager. If there is any conflict which is coming on, correct, you are actually sabotaging, you are planning for the sabotaging your effort of this training structure. I hope
Absolutely.
I made
Yes,
my
you
point.
have made your point very well, and I'm happy you have said that, Sushilji, because then the question is, if it is really so important, and I know it's an independent opinion, why is it enough thought not given? Because it is ultimately so critical to have clear job description, clear metrics, because we measure salespeople by metrics, right? What
Right.
the old way of measuring: call average, call frequency, doctor list coverage, 90% हुआ क्या, A class calls का 3 call हुआ क्या, and they're held responsible. Primary sales training obviously has also evolved as a function and needs to have those metrics. And I think what you have mentioned is that if that clarity is not there, it will lead to sabotaging, and it is inadvertent. You didn't design it, but it happened, right? Yeah, yeah. So I think the other message, what you have said for our audience, the second powerful message is, if you don't have role clarity and you don't have the job description clarity between the training function or the capability building function and the execution piece, which is done by salespeople, you're going to land up in a mess, because somebody is going to end up duplicating the work of the other. And then inevitably the question is asked, is really two people required to do the same job at the end of the day, right? You would like
And
to add anything, sir? Anything? Yeah, please.
I would also like to add, see, there has to be a partnership, because see, people building, skill building, or the capability building is not a department specific role. It has to be the agenda for the entire organization. Because the capability building is it is not only, you see, that the sales manager or the line management job, it is the job of the overall function, and it has to be a very strategic in nature. Like for example, sometimes when in my initial part of my career, correct, whenever I was asking the regional manager or other people that what are the one or two things, correct, you want to develop in this person after the training program, is how you will measure our training success when you are sending your medical representative to us. And he used to tell me, yes sir, his detailing has to be perfect, right? Then I used to ask him, okay, tell me, how long this person has been working with you? Right. So he used to tell me, sir, for 2 years, 2.5 years, because for the refresher program. Then I asked him, see, for 2 years he is working with you. Every month you are going for the joint field work with him, correct? So maybe every month 3 days, if you see, so already 72 days of field working you have done with him. And now you are realizing that his detailing has to be perfected. So it is, so can we have a very frank discussion that what happens during your joint field work, isn't it? So then he used to tell me that, sir, there are so many things out there, correct? We want our people to develop. And that is where I realized that there has to be some kind of orientation of our line managers also, that how to train or how to at least sustain the training which the people have got in the training program. And that has actually compelled me during my instinct during Torrent Pharma. And this is my personal opinion, correct? You have already said, correct? In my one of the organization that we started developing our line managers as a trainer on the particular model. And actually that has helped us a lot.
Okay. So the line managers were built in as a trainers, and that
Yes.
rubbed off in building the competencies of their salespeople. All
Not for all the programs, but very specific program which were critical to the business. Those competencies were critical to the business. Then we said that why not we involve the manager, because training department during those days were very small, and having a coverage of a large field force was always a challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a good point that you mentioned. Okay. I want to come to the next piece of our discussion or conversation is around your very good ride that you're having, a great ride with your present employer, Alchem, for the past decade. And it's almost a decade now, and time really flies, right? I mean, you joined the organization when it was in its turbocharged growth phase and rising up very quickly. Powerful brands were getting built. You joined them as a deputy general manager for training. But over the last decade, everyone has seen the kind of growth that you have got into in terms of expansion of roles, expansion of responsibilities. And if I'm given to understand right, you now handle not only the L&D part of the organization, but you also handle the talent management piece and the organizational development piece, the OD piece as well. Now, this is very, very rare combination for a person to handle L&D, OD, and TM, because one or two of them will definitely fall under the HR purview, like talent management. But so that's why I was keen to know how have you been able to handle this thing. I would like to hear your thoughts on your journey with Alchem from a professional point of view. If you could tell our viewers and listeners, and also how you took up these roles of increasing responsibility, and what is it that you currently do to build the capabilities of your organization, and also from a marketing perspective.
Okay. Uh, First of all, very long question, but I'll try to do
Take your
justice.
time.
Right, right. Uh, you see, Salesh, that you have said that L&D, TM, and OD, people generally commit a mistake of seeing these three functions separately. Because if you look upon nowadays, and in fact, for the last 10, 15 years, correct, organizations are working on the integrated talent management model. Right. And when we are saying the integrated talent management model, correct, it starts from your workforce plan, right? Because the kind of the you can say businesses expansion, isn't it, or the new product lines you are going to open, that will decide the kind of capabilities you want in your people and that kind of mandate you give to your talent acquisition team. And ultimately, the talent acquisition team, once it you can say hires the talent, then it comes to the training and development and other areas like induction training, onboarding, other thing happens, and then you see the performance management, and then the learning and development cycle comes in, right? And so on, so for that engagement and retention, that complete model. Till now, people we are looking into that training means that to make him efficient in his current job, right? And this is the right definition. Learning means that making people capable to handle the next level role. And development generally happens at a leadership level, correct, where we prepare people to leaders to handle the uncertainties. Right. So if this definition is completely clear, then you will start seeing all these three functions from a single lens, that they are not separate. And that is where you see that when I came in Alchem Laboratories Limited, and I was very lucky and fortunate that I got all the leaders, correct, with the business leaders with whom I have worked. When I started throwing this idea in their mind, correct, they started understanding it very clearly. And you have rightly said that Alchem has been on a great growth path since 2010, last decade. If you see, correct, from a 3,000 crore odd business, we are now at around 10,000 crore business, and we are growing further. And and uh, and you see that the field force size has also got doubled, almost doubled in this 10 years period of time. And when I started talking about this thing, that if you look into training as a separate function, if you look into the talent management as a separate function, correct, it will create a lot of, you can say, internal process, too much that it will look good on the paper, but implementation will not take place. Right. So that is where, correct. And organizational development also, if you look at a perspective, I was fortunate enough that in the first 2.5 years of my initial instinct with Alchem, I was directly reporting to the CEO. And actually that has given me some kind of that room where I can throw my ideas openly, and got a chance to sit in the business meetings along with the CEO, and they used to ask me that what will be the training agenda if we are planning this. And I'm very fortunate because in pharma industry, not much of the training people get this kind of opportunity, because they get the mandate when the leaders come out from the closed room discussions, and they say that this is has to be the training agenda. But I was initial part of my instinct with Alchem. I was the part of the discussion, and that has given me a lot of thought clarity that how this entire function has to be there. So I was taking you further on this. When the strategy was decided, then then it was a very clear-cut mandate that we will not go with the routine kind of a pharma business training model. Okay, that when a person comes, you do a 10, 15, 20 days of training, and then you forget. Right. Likewise, it happens for an area manager level also, that once he's promoted, one training is done, and then you have forgotten it. Then when I said, sir, let us start working upon the learning architect. And once I said this term, learning architect, all the business leaders said, Sushil, can you elaborate on this? That what do you mean by this? Then I told them that then okay, that all those nitty-gritties, okay, let us first define the role-wise competencies. And based upon the role-wise competencies, correct, and every role is having its own journey, right? So there has to be journey-specific programs for them. And you see that in the journey, majorly three destination comes in. First, when he is occupying the role. Second, when he is delivering on the role, that journey. And then he has delivered up to a level that now he is ready for the next level. Right. And in all these three phases, you cannot have the same kind of program. The program design has to change, the structure has to change. So that learning architect was put in place. And for all the different roles, the competencies were defined. And I was fortunate enough that our management has agreed that why do not you go for a hybrid kind of competency assessment. Uh, there was a lot of discussion around it. People said that maybe a multinational's competency is good enough to look upon, but whether our culture will ensure that we will be able to do this or not. So then I given a proposal to them, okay, let us work on a hybrid model. Okay, let us understand that how the competency framework needs to be created, how the behavioral event interview has to be conducted, and we will create a Alchem specific competency model, right? Because we are a successful organization. So I told them, let us interview and understand from our people who are highly successful. And from there, we have derived our Alchem competency model. And that was actually the turning point where all our programs were based. And when we started working on a clear-cut blueprint, uh, sooner or later we started getting success, and we created value for the organization. And that is the time our management asked me, Sushil, why do not you start looking the same kind of experiment, correct, in other part of organization? So I was lucky enough that they have entrusted me by enlarging my role. So there also we have done the similar kind of thing. So I think I was able to answer your first part of the question on this, right?
Yes. No, it's very beautifully answered, Sushilji, because I'll tell you what it has been. This answer has actually educated me, to be honest with you. Because the first point that has struck me hard is today we follow the integrated model of L&D, OD, and talent management. This is a learning for me because it's something which I thought were in pieces across departmental functions, but no, it is an integrated model. That's the first thing you mentioned. The second message that you said is it basically flows from your workflow planning, which is strategic in nature and objective, because once you set that, then you go off to the different functions and tell them that this is what our requirements are. So you build in those competencies based upon those needs. So it's not a piecemeal approach, but it is an integrated approach. Very beautifully said. The third, I think, beautiful point you mentioned, which is you develop an Alchem specific, internalized, customized model for building the competencies and the frameworks for your people. You did not want to borrow from any other organization because you were very successful and you have been all the while, and you felt it has to be uniquely delivered for meeting the needs of your people. And I think those are some of the points, if you think I've summarized it correctly in the first part. And I think very fourth important point is that you also mentioned that you were able to drive this very well because you had the direct reporting relationship and visibility with your chief executive, who was completely in the know-how of what was being done. He's suggesting a hybrid model, as you mentioned, which is important. So, Shiji, this is important because that brings me to the next question. We all from the outside world, and this is something which all viewers, Alchem is an extremely hard-driven, sales numbers, performance-centric organization, and it has to meet the expectations internally, shareholders, everyone. And I think one of the companies which all of us know in the industry, which has really grown successful, is Alchem, in the top 5 in India today. And it has always been a numbers, sales-driven organization and performance-driven. Nothing wrong, absolutely. In that milieu, in that culture, to drive this differentiation and get heard is something which is really remarkable. So, from your personal learning and example, what did it take to get the management hear this because these are long-term thinking projects, these are long-term capabilities building, and it's very interesting to hear that Alchem has invested itself to do this. So, if you can share some thoughts around this, a very frank question, if you don't mind.
Thanks for asking this question. You see that our leaders are highly strategic in nature, though their eyes are totally, you can say, on the implementation. But the thought process which I have enjoyed here in Alchem, that people always talk about that what is there in the future, but at the same time ensuring that the ground level implementation on what we thought yesterday is happening or not. And actually, that is what which makes any organization successful. And the involvement of our leaders from top to bottom, correct, for the execution piece is very important, and it is delivering as the result. And you see that not on means we are a firm believer what is being said in the management books also, that a average strategy, if it is executed well, correct, it will be far better than an excellent strategy but not executed well. So Alchem believes in the execution of whatever has been decided. And when I was also talking about the training plans and other things, the same kind of things was asked to me. Hey, you tell me, is it possible? Correct. Is it simple? Correct. And will our people get value out of it? If they are getting the value, isn't it how we are going to measure it? So these were the 4 questions, correct, which was asked by our business, means my business leaders to me. Yes, Sushil, we totally agree. We are ready to invest on you. On the first plan which I had given to them was creating the zonal training structure. Because if people are not able to come to us for training, because you see, I'm talking about, you see that pre-pandemic and also when the technology was not very well adapted in pharma and it was more of a face-to-face program. And during that time, any program, if you have to conduct, you have to call people from across the country, that 2 days goes into travel, and then all your this thing, that hotel booking, and the person is away from the field for 12 days. And as you rightly said in the start, that we are pharma is a very efficiency driven model. So in this 12 days, the call average, which is hampered and other things, managers wanted their people to be trained, but at the same time, they don't wanted to lose them on their matrices as well. So there was always a tussle kind of a thing, that this traveling time and other time. So then I gave them this model. Let us create a zonal training structure, and then let us break down this our 21 days of training, correct, into three distinct models where people can learn, imbibe, apply, and then come for the second level of program. And this will also increase the engagement. And this was liked by our business leader, and it was aligned with the business strategy as well. So they agreed and said that they are ready to invest on this particular idea. And you can see that from three people training department, with this structure, we become 20, around 19 people strong training department with the zonal training structure.
Right. Very nice.
So,
And Sushilji, this learn, imbibe, and implement model is an ongoing model, is it?
the ongoing model. And you see that in pharma sales, correct, training is continuous.
Yes.
You cannot say that I have been trained enough, right? Because there is every opportunity to learn, imbibe, and implement.
Right.
And any learning which is not implemented, correct, then it is actually is adding to your only intellectual capacity, but not the implementation purpose.
Right.
And one more thing I would like to share with you, that only not this change in that structure change, only the structure change may not yield you the result until unless the learning strategy change has to be. Like for example, that typical, there is a pyramid model of learning in the pharma industry. Like they will first tell you about the pathophysiology, then physiology, isn't it? And then what is the gap? And those kind of things, those big lectures which keeps on going. And many of people, correct, who those are coming from the non-scientific background, they find it very difficult to uh, you can say absorb. Then we said that why do not we start from the point of giving that what is most important thing to sell, what he requires inside the clinic, because time crunch is also happening inside the doctor clinic. People were not getting the golden times which you used to get 10, 15, 20 years back, that when a discussion starts, we are able to engage the doctor, correct, in a model for 15, 20 minutes. Now that when the time was going lesser for the medical representative to spend inside clinic, we have just inverted the model. And we said that we will give first what is required, what is good means need to know, and then we started moving into good to know. Because once that person starts developing a curiosity, then everybody is an adult learner. The job of training stops when you develop the curiosity in a person to learn.
Right. Right. And actually, as you rightly said, there's also now an emerging function which is already emerged on the knowledge and content management, where you actually classify knowledge dissemination as need to know, good to know, and need not know domains, right? And I think that it is all based on the intellectual curiosity paradigm. Very well said. I just had one more question on the Alchem Learning Academy. Is this only focused on the salespeople capability building or also the marketing capability building, your brand managers, etc.? I just wanted to know.
Initially, when we started our sales, this our training academy, it was focused upon the sales, because around 80-85% of our field force that time was of sales, right? And looking into that kind of training, our brand managers and business leaders started approaching and started conversation with me. Okay, Sushil, can we do something for the marketing people also? So then I started looking into that, which happens in a big organization. uh, the challenge of a common marketing lingo among all 21 divisions, because every function, every BU, correct, they would like to run the business as per the need of their segment and their customer importances. So then a big discussion happened there, and then we said, okay, let us now start with a few trainings initially, correct, where at least people start thinking about that some programs are happening for them. Correct, because everything you cannot start with a structure, otherwise it will take a lot of time. So you have to there. So as soon as I got the first demand for our marketeer training program, correct, I did a focus group discussion and I said "Okay, that what are the few key pointers which you require, right? And then based upon that, correct, I started looking into the experts that who can deliver the training. And once people have tested that particular thing, then their hunger started in. So now slowly, correct. We have been in the marketing academy. It is work in progress. I could not say that the way the sales academy has matured over a period of time. Yes, marketing academy work in progress, and it will take 1 or 2 years to come up to a full circle. Because that competency mapping as per the Alchem point of view, correct, that work is in progress, and once that is set, then we will have means we do conduct programs that is specific to the brand managers, then to the marketing managers, and then your BU head level. So those program differentiation is there, correct. It is not like that brand planning action is there and then from top to bottom everybody is sitting there.
Right, right. This is a good point you mentioned, Sushil, because the organization has grown so large and you have built powerful brands running into hundreds and hundreds of crores, like you say, Pan or Pandy or Moxclap, which are industry leaders. I think you may be having more than 10, 15 brands in the top 300 brands in India today. And therefore, at some point of time, do you, as an organizational expert and focused on L&D, believe that there has to be some synergy and a structured approach to the brand planning processes across all the verticals, because there has to be a structured way, or maybe like, well, just to put it in a generic term, the Alchem way of building brands. Yes, there are certain basic tenets of brand planning and marketing, the Alchem way, because every organization has its DNA of building brand. Would you also be looking at that, say, into the future, so that you integrate it and then take it to the next level of planning? Just thought of asking you this.
Yes. In fact, any kind of capability building follows a very structured approach, right? First is that the current assessment of the competencies, isn't it? And then benchmarking it with the market, and
Right.
then accordingly designing the program. So yes,
Correct.
you're absolutely right, and this work is in progress, and many programs are happening. Correct. We are looking into that how we can create a strategy where our brand teams, correct, will be more enriched over a period of time. And Salesh, here I have one thing I also want to bring in over here, because this question I want to answer from an L&D strategy point of view, that how the organizations looks and towards the L&D now. See, the first and the foremost thing is that which we all know, that is the capability building, training of people. Right. Another important thing where the L&D has been now positioned strategically is that how to attract the best of the talent. Right, because your L&D becomes one of the key driver nowadays, correct, to attract talent, and it is no more that money or the material things which attracts talent now, because people look for the growth and their own development, and that is where the L&D function is going to play a very important role. Another thing, correct, which comes in my mind, that is regarding that how L&D creates value for the business, right? And L&D is also important for building the complete culture of learning. And once that organization is on learning path, people are engaged, and you will 100% agree with me, I'm sure, that engaged employees brings the performance. So L&D is nowadays is seen as a very important engagement tool for any organization.
I'm internalizing because I'm listening to you. Such beautiful thoughts are coming from you. I'm internalizing them, Sushil. One is L&D is today seen as a strategic enabler of attracting talent to the organization. That's a powerful message you're putting. There's no longer the responsibility of HR ka kaam hai, ye nahi, ye L&D ka. Because people are looking, what is in it for me beyond the material, money, salary, comfort. Second thing you're seeing is it is our job to ensure that there's a culture of learning and facilitating that learning so that the employee feels engaged. That's absolutely true. Otherwise, he'll say, what is in it for me beyond my job? Right. And that's always been the thing. And I completely agree. And third important point is the fallout of all this is that engaged employees are the most productive employees, because then you result. I think this is again beautifully said by you. These are three good take-home messages. But I had one spin-off because I've actually, my questions were there, but they're now getting seamless because of the way you're putting it. Sushilji, I have a question. See, today, I mean, we always knew that learning, even though you have an L&D function, you are the boss, you have been doing a lot of modeling around L&D, but at the end of the day, you will even provide an environment, a culture within the organization, say like Alchem, to give employees that access to learning tools, platforms, LMS, etc. At the end of the day, it is also dependent on the employee to show that keenness and interest. Today, Sushil, the environment has changed. If you, I don't know how you will react to it. Earlier, as you said, 21 days program, 40 days program, ye tum IIM ka course chale jao, so that he feels they get exposure. Today, the education space has changed completely. Today, you have the Coursera's of the world, the EDX of the world, Unacademy, Udemy, online. So much of knowledge and so much of this thing is put out there. So in this scenario also, the employees also should have encouragement to do it on their own, certify themselves, learn themselves, rather than just depending upon only the organization also, right? And this is more important from our marketeers community, because they always believe that learning cannot stop at MBA school. It has to continue like this. Any thoughts around this, Sushilji?
Yes, and you see that in the past 2.5 years, when these things, they were already there since 2014. I think that Coursera EDX has started coming in 2014, but they were not having much success in India. But this pandemic time has actually increased the demand for this. Now, this is actually a very good tool for the L&D heads in an organization. Actually, it has made our job easier. Right, because now the choice is in the hand of learners. Correct. If we bring these platforms to the organization and we ask them, okay, that why do not you audit the course yourself, that what you want to learn. But
Yes.
first and the foremost thing, there has to be a criteria for that, the course which you are going for this. And if organization is paying money for it, isn't it, then what will be the application of this particular thing? And that is why you see a very strong policy framework has to be built around this. Correct. And where we can say that we will be paying for your learning, but what you will be bringing from that learning to the organization. So a
Absolutely.
mutual kind of an ecosystem has to be there. And
Yes.
all this Coursera and other things, they are going to stay. They are not going to replace anything, but they are going to augment the
Mentor.
entire learning ecosystem, where people, even their free time, if they're interested and curious to learn and know something, correct, they can learn.
No,
And I
you're very
tell you,
beautifully and correctly said it, Sushilji. It's going to augment it. And I've spoken to my L&D friends from other industries like FMCG. The shift has already happened. So much so that they're saying, don't depend on us to now train you, because there's all wealth of information. Sign up for the course. Tell me what you're going to tell us. We will pay for it. Tell us how you'll apply it. And now, Sushilji, they're saying this is the future of work.
yes,
Train, and like the US, if you don't certify yourself in that 1 year period, you can lose your license, or you can, your job. This thing is, you won't get promotions, you won't get, because you're not learning as you're working. So that's the future of work. And second thing, Sushilji, what they're saying is that you're going to get something known as a learning allowance as a part of your salary.
it's going forward, that is going to happen, Salesh. Another thing, Salesh, I want to bring in over here, that you have said this word, that certification part, correct, means that continuous learning. You see that we all are in this information age, correct, where managing information is a big challenge. So generally what happens is that, suppose people who are attending meeting and suddenly they have learned a new word. What is the instinct now, right now, that they Google it, isn't it? And once they're Googling it, right, one or two line definition they will learn, and they start thinking about, I know about it. And this actually creates some kind of that pseudo knowing about the thing. But going forward, when he was given the accountability of doing that, then he realizes that, yes, there is a gap. I need to actually know more about it. And that is the time people will not wait for L&D to organize a training program. L&D should create an offering there, where people should go and see, yes, there is a 3-month course I can enroll, and 3 months time, correct, I will be ready to take on this responsibility.
Fantastic. You've just
And
hit the nail on the head. You've just hit the nail on the head, boss. Previous speaker who's just come on to our show, has said the same thing, that the current crop suddenly sometimes begins that doing a Googling or a slide share actually enhances. It is not the real, they get to the depth of it. Very well. I asked this now, we have another 10 minutes to go, and I respect your time, but I want to ask an important piece of, your thought process. I want to pick your mind. When you were a sales rep, you used to get briefings, you used to come for cycle meetings. You would see brand managers dish out 2 days of cycle meeting, brand promotional plans. Usually, ये करना है, ये promotional plan है, ये है, input मिलेगा. Then you got into training. In training, you were not only sales training, but obviously you have had interface with brand managers. Today, at a senior leadership level of Alchem, driving all three integrated functions of L&D, OD, and talent management, I'm sure your job also involves a lot of interaction with brand marketeers and brand managers, who I fundamentally believe are the most important resources of the organization, because from an intellectual and brand assets point of view. Sushilji, my thought is, what is your take on how the brand management or marketing function has evolved in our pharma industry over the last 2 decades? What do you think has worked well? Where do you see areas of development? And I want you to answer this, please, from the L&D perspective in today's times, not just the COVID time, but pre-COVID. You know, what do you think are the areas where brand managers are good today, but where they also see from the lens of an L&D? This message is important for our brand marketeers community because they generally don't get that interface from the L&D lens. That's why I wanted to request you to bring this up.
And Salish, with your kind permission, I would like to be very candid when I'm answering this.
I want you only to be candid, sir. I don't want you to have soft gloves. Please remove the gloves. Because this show is all about candid. All the leaders have been candid about it. And that's why you see. Very well said, sir. Please be candid.
In fact, I see the brand managers in pharma industry, correct, from two perspectives. One is that those people who have been trained in MBA colleges about the marketing concepts, theories, isn't it? And then they worked in the sales instinct for some period of time, and then they are moving immediately after their management training instinct, and they are moving into the brand marketing. These are the people, correct, who are well, you can say, trained upon those concepts. So it becomes easier for them to apply. Another set of, you see, that marketeers, the brand managers, which happens in pharma, are the highly successful salespeople, isn't it? Worked up to a level of, you can say, regional manager, zonal manager, or maybe up to a national sales manager. And as a part of their career growth or the diversification of their career, they get an opportunity because of their successful career, understanding of consumers, right? Means the customers, and understanding of markets, that how the market behaves. Now, when these people starts coming into the brand management, isn't it? Then it is said that 80% has to be the strategy, 20% to be the tactic. This actually equation starts changing, right? So more of the tactics starts happening because we have every month closing, every quarter closing, number has to be shown, right? So in this particular aspect, in pharma L&D side, isn't it how we need to address this particular, you can say, the challenge or the question is that there has to be some kind of an immersive program which brings in the the marketing, you can say, mindset among the sales managers who are moving into this particular function. At the same time, those people who are coming from the well-trained MBA kind of mindset or the education, there has to be some kind of a sales orientation. Correct. This reminds me of my early days of pharmacy. Pharmacy is the only, you can say, stream, whether you have done your 12th in biology or the mathematics, you can always enter in, right? Because what happens, the people who are coming from the maths background, for first 2 years, they have been taught as an mandatory subject on biology, right? So they know biology now, correct? And those people who are coming from biology side, correct, 2 years they need to go through the mathematics class there. Like second year, we study statistics because statistics becomes important for us for doing the experiments and this thing. First year, that basics of the mathematics, like your geometric progression and everything.
Yeah, I had a terrible time in my pharmacy.
Right. So that has prepared us actually from a biological background, correct? That if any subject has to be taught, it has to be taught in this manner. The same kind of immersive program every organization should have, because both the people are bringing the great experience and a great, you can say, recipe for the success in this particular field. Because the salespeople having a deep insights, isn't it? And marketeers are having the great concepts and vision and an open mindset, right? So this is my take, Salisha, hope I was able to.
No, it's a good point. You mentioned a good point. It has to, because see, and that brings me to the next question actually, because that will further clarify. And this is very important. that, when a sales guys does, he has to understand that there's a marketing piece to brand building. Obviously, the strategy piece, which is 80% and 20% execution, and not the reverse. And the guy from marketing who gets into sales must understand the depth of the sales process, demand generation, customer behavior, as you so beautifully said in the early part of the con. Jab tak ye nahi hoga, alignment nahi hoga, you will not see the actual potent results that will come through. Sushil ji, I want to ask a very important question, because for an organization like Alkem, which is driven on performance and builds its people, and I think most of the people who take on the roles are internally groomed and talent managed to take on higher roles, although you take people from outside as well. My question is, when you have this P&L role kind of positions, right, BU head positions or AVP or sales and marketing reporting into them, how is the call made from the lens of Mr. Sushil Barkur, when it's as a stakeholder, L&D specialist with talent management and future OD perspective? Because it's not just number generation, but it is also about driving the people, driving performance, as you so beautifully said. So how does the best man get selected? I mean, is it only because he's come, sir, मैंने 10 साल, मैंने 1 महीना भी टारगेट मिस नहीं किया है, PCPM 12 लाख है, growth मेरा 20% से नीचे नहीं रहा है, or is it also that, no sir, I have built brands and I'm able to show? How does that call get taken? Just your thoughts around this.
In my this personal opinion, right, our leadership is quite, you can say, observant of the talent, early talent, or those people who are showing the spark. And once they see the spark in that person, that this person can be groomed for this further role, right? A round of discussion happens between HR, business leadership, and the L&D. And when the decision is being made, correct, we also plan that how he will do the transition from his previous role to this role, and we create a series of you can say programs for him. It is not like that. It is more of a mentoring, correct, and some part of coaching over there. Like when people are moving from the sales or sales role, correct, to a BU head kind of a role, the first and the foremost thing is that whether he understand the P&L properly or not. Like you're saying, a finance course for a non-finance person, he'd understand those terminologies or not properly, right? Another thing is that what about his understanding about the STP, right? Does he understand the nut and bolts, that what goes into this? So there is a very structured induction kind of a thing, where many times our business leaders takes the role of briefing them entirely, and they spend a very good time of around maybe half days to almost a day on giving him a very structured kind of learning. And we also go out and we nominate them on certain programs, right, which can help them imbibe those specific competencies.
This is very well. So what I learned, taker for our viewers, is it's not just moving him into that role, but helping him successfully transition into that role. So you are really hand-holding him in that phase of transition, which is the most critical piece of the journey, as you rightly said, from an L&D standpoint, because then he is able to learn the the new aspects like finance for non-finance guys, or team management, or whatever, because he may be a single contributor in his territory. He is now getting into a different role or function. And so that may be an entirely different requirement.
Another skill, correct, which is very critical for a person who is coming from sales into the marketing and then to the BU role kind of a thing, that he needs to be actually developed in the collaboration and the conflict resolution skills. Because coming from that kind of a mindset, right, where he was handling the entire function, now he has to do the cross-functional collaboration. And once the people start doing the cross-functional collaboration, I'm sure, Sailesh, you have played that role for many years, right? It takes that art. And if the framework has been provided by the L&D, means like, for example, that we are having an open calendar program for our corporate, then your L&D, your manufacturing and R&D people, correct? And this is we have selected some 11 programs, and every year some 85 batches keeps on going for that. It happens in cycle, and we have actually selected the best of the facilitator for these roles, delivering these programs, right? And anybody who is coming into this kind of role, transition role, correct, we create a journey for him, that first you go through this, then you go through this, and then you go through this. And people have, as of now, have found it useful for them. So I would say that yes, we are not completely there, but we are on a right path to reach at a place, correct, where we could design a very utopian kind of a situation where every transition is happening through in a structured manner. Because a lot of learning also takes place, correct, in unstructured manner when people enter.
Unstructured manner. Absolutely. No, Sushil, you have mentioned this very nicely, and I think we have a last few minutes, and I'll just try and push in a couple last one or two questions. You're also a mentor and a performance-led coach, and you coach people. And I think all of us know coaching and mentoring is something which is of a higher level, and requires a different attribute as compared to just the basic training and doing the stuff. So, from again, do you get an opportunity to mentor and coach people on a one-on-one or a group level in your organization, especially for marketeers and brand managers? And what's been your experience? What are your messages, for them in terms of mentoring? Where do you think they should focus on? That would be really nice.
We actually believe a lot on the 360-degree feedback and then planning the developmental goal for people. And this journey we have started for the last 3 years. So I'm an internal coach, correct, where we help people. And you see that we means got an opportunity in this organization for doing the structured coaching also and unstructured coaching also. Then unstructured means generally that your coffee cup coaching, where people come to my cabin and they start talking about that this is the things which they are facing the challenge, and the coach's job is to help people to find their own answers, right?
Yes.
Because we are not into advisory kind of a role. So we have created a complete, you can say, framework of those coffee cup coaching kind of a thing. And I'm happy to share that many a times I end up having 4 coffees in a day.
But knowing your personality and profile as being a listener, I would even a person like me would, and always ever smiling to help. I would walk across and have the fifth cup of coffee with you. No, that's nice, Sushilji. No, I think no, I'm actually being left with this very nice impression that there's a lot of work that is getting seriously addressed in your organization, like Alchem, and this is great, because you also are positioning your organization as a very in a different milieu because we saw it from a very fantastic performance driven machine in the industry. There's no question. It's great brands, great brand building. I mean, whatever it is. And you're seeing this, but there is an internal engine that drives the whole thing, the L&D engine, the OD engine, the talent management, which you have been kind of, fortunate, as you said, to build on it for the last decade and along with your business leaders. I'm sure your business leaders are your most important stakeholders, right? I mean, the P&L heads, without which you can't really drive this whole thing, and not just the senior management but the BU heads as well. Yeah,
Value
right.
generation starts where the revenue generation happens.
Exactly. No. And at the end of the day, you need their buy-in, without which, because we are ultimately a support enablers. So no, Sushil, it's been fantastic talking to you over the last hour, and I just see the clock and we are to the hour. I don't want to extend it. It's been great. It's been wonderful to hear nuggets of wisdom from you in your journey. When you talked about the early days of sales, why you went into a training function within your 4 years of a sales stint, because you realized there were gaps to be built around behavioral, competencies and addressing that piece. Then getting into Alchem, talking about a journey with Alchem, how you started off with the sales training piece, but getting into the OD piece. You enlightened me on us viewers on the integrated model, of developing people and processes, which is L&D, OD, and management. And you also spoke about what it takes to customize. It gives us a distinct impression. There's a lot of things happening at the back end which don't get seen at the front end, because front end is only the performance, but these are engine enablers to do that. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Before I sign off, Sushilji, any last thoughts, any last closing messages that you would like to share with our audience over the last few minutes? I would request you to do that.
See, in this decade of 2021 to 2030, a lot of changes are going to means experiencing, and lot more technological changes are going to happen. And this is the time, correct, where most of the learning will come to us And there is a great accountability on the learning and development department, that how they read these trends and create a structured way of learning and bring to our marketeers, sales forces, and to the organization, so that how this early learning of the changes can put them on a faster growth path, because opportunities are immense.
All right. So, do you believe there will be more technology interventions as well, along with the other physical interventions as we go forward? Because that's what COVID has shown us.
Yes, yes, and as Shailesh, you have been an astute marketer yourself, because technology has now given um, us the possibility of creating the marketing plan for a single customer.
Right. Absolutely. N equal to one. And that's what digitalization has shown us, that you can create an individual customer specific plan. Yes, very true. No, I think that's one important message. And any other closing messages? So from an L&D expert like you for brand marketeers, anything else you would like to see? Because that's where the whole message would be important. Anything else? Sir?
With just one single line, be curious, because a lot of learning opportunities are there. And the latest, you can say, book from Philip Kotler and the other co-authors, that is H2H Marketing, that a lot about now, that having an insight on the consumer behavior, customer behavior, because now behavioral economics is totally embedded into all your brand plans and other things.
Absolutely. No, that's a very good message that you left us with, sir. Thank you so much for your time, valuable input. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Sushilji. And once again, on my behalf and my organization's behalf, it's been great to have you and interact with you. Thanks so much, sir. Thanks for your time. And
Thank you,
stay
Salish. It was my privilege to be on Quest for Excellence from Intellectuous, your firm, and you are doing really a great job of bringing into everybody regarding sharing their experience. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Have a great day.